know that most of the country artists you know and love today got their starts in places called honky tonks? That's right. Patsy Cline, Ernest Tubb, all of them. Honky tonks are an important stop in the careers of some of the brightest country stars. And the music you'll find in honky tonks is like none other on the American landscape. Designed to get your feet tapping and your mind off your troubles, this is music you can't sit down to. Hosted by Bill Anderson, this series features tons of your favorite country music legends as they tell their favorite honky tonk stories, sing their favorite honky tonk songs, all on a collection we're calling Country's Family Reunion Honky Tonk. Come on in.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here for a Country's Family Honky Tonk Reunion. I love those bright lights and country music. Well, I won't stay home and cry tonight like all the nights before. I've just learned that I don't really need you anymore. I found a little place downtown where guys like me can go, and they've got bright lights and country music. Bright lights and country music, a bottle and a glass. Soon I'll be forgetting that there ever was a past. And when everybody asks me what helped me forget so fast, I'll say bright lights and country music. The table by the bandstand, a bottle filled with wine. Honky tonks were made for men with women on their mind. Nothing else can take away this loneliness of mine, quite like bright lights and country music. Bright lights and country music, a bottle and a glass. Soon I'll be forgetting that there ever was a past. And when everybody asks me what helped me forget so fast, I'll say bright lights and country music. 'Cause I love those bright lights and country music. Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you for singing along with me. I need all the help I can get, and everybody's in the honky tonk, bright lights, and country music mode. Rhonda Vincent, when you sang that song, and bless your heart, you've done it, the line about honky tonks were made for men with women on their... You guys agree with that? Were honky tonks made for men with women on their mind? How did you sing that?
Honky tonks were made for girls with lovin' on their mind. Oh. And I called
I
it
like
when
that
I got ready
better.
to record it.
You should sing it that way.
I'm going to go back and sing it that way. Yeah.
That's good.
I'm going to come over here to my little honky-tonk sweetheart sitting here at my table, Jeannie Saley. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I have been looking forward to this show because I love honky tonks. And I love jukeboxes, and I have to be honest, though. I don't know if any of the other artists feel this way, but I always like going to honky tonks better than I liked working them. Did anybody else
I'd rather be dancing, that's why.
Yeah, I'd rather be dancing. I look out there. It's good to see you doing something that makes people have a good time, but still, I love to go to a good honky tonk. Cold beer and a loud jukebox, baby.
Or a loud band up on the
Yeah,
stage.
loud band, loud
I
band.
decided last night, I knew we were going to do this, and I looked up in the dictionary. I wanted to see if honky tonk was in the dictionary. And if it was, I wanted to see what it said. So I went back and got an old Webster's dictionary, and actually it had it in there. It said honky tonk is a cheap, noisy bar or dance hall. And then it went on to say it's also a type of ragtime music that's usually played on a tinny old piano. And then I went to Wikipedia, you know, the new thing on the internet, and it even talked more than that about the honky tonks, and even called some names. It named people like Webb Pierce and Farron Young, Loretta Lynn, Ernest Tubb, people who were known for coming up through the honky tonk circuit on their way to the big time.
I was going to say, old Webster had been at some of the ones I've worked.
I think it was the Wikipedia one that said not just a tinny old piano, it said a tinny old, often out of tune piano.
Well,
We've all been there too.
Wikipedia was there too. What have you bought?
We've all played the honky tonks, but I don't think there's but one of us here that has ever actually owned a honky tonk. Did you know that Mo Bandy used to own a honky tonk?
Yeah.
I did.
You and Joe Stampley had
rightly
one together,
so.
didn't you?
Me and Joe had Mo and Joe's Honky Tonk, and right outside of Houston, Texas, and we had it there back during the Urban Cowboy deal. It did really well. We had instead of a mechanical bull, we had a mechanical armadillo.
Wouldn't that hurt?
We had it set where you get a seat on him, but they had the. You remember the show You Asked For It? Somebody wrote in and wanted to see me ride the mechanical armadillo. And I came in there one night after a show about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I rode that armadillo till 6 in the morning. I couldn't walk for a week with that armadillo.
Couldn't get off.
Tell me what it's like on the other side, running a honky tonk. What did you have to worry about every morning when you woke up?
Well, it was fun. I lived in San Antonio, and it was in Houston, but we had some good folks running it and everything, and they did a good job. But it was really neat to see this place build, and it did build up. It was really good crowds, and we had a lot of the Houston Oilers back then, the football players who'd come in here, and we had more fun with those guys. Man, we used to have a ball, and maybe they were at our place a little late in the morning and had to play the next day. So we had to, if they lost, we figured we did it, you know. But
Well, did you and Joe play there a lot? Did y'all?
we played there quite a bit. We sure did. And we had a lot of fun there. Joe and I would come in often. And it's kind of a good feeling to play a place with your own name on it, you know. But when a fight would break out, you'd feel like going out there and breaking it up. But I didn't do that. I did not do that kind of thing.
You let Joe do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joe, go break up the fight.
Yeah, I would do that. Joe, you go do that over there.
How large your club was it? Was it as big as like Gillies?
No, it wasn't that big, but it would hold, I'd say 700-800 people. Wow, pretty good sized club. And, we used to have fun.
Did you book any of the guest artists in there?
I had people that did that, yes, but we had a lot of guests in there, a lot of people.
I played it, Bill.
Did you?
Yeah, I played it twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, Eddie Raven played it.
It was
that was great.
It was neat. I tried to pick a fight with Joe, but he didn't go for that.
I said,
Piano and
I lost your phone number.
Eddie?
Yes, sir.
You played there. Jeannie wants to know if the piano was in tune.
Well, it was till Buck got a hold of it. He retuned it.
The armadillo was in tune, I know that. Yeah. But, you know, we played there, and speaking of, we can't have a honky-tonk show without speaking of fights. You know, you just can't do it. And I was taught years ago, played in a place in Austin, Skyline Club, and this old boy that run it called me offside, and he said, "Let me tell you something, boy." He said, "When a fight breaks out, you play something fast." Yeah. He said, "Because them cowboys rather dance a fast song and fight." And so the fight would break out, and we'd, no. We'd play every fast song we knew, you know. But
I saw one night where the fight broke out, and it got so bad they told us to play the national anthem. That'll stop them. Sing us a honky-tonk song, Mo Bandy.
I'll do it. I was going to play my guitar, but I thought I'd work the room, see? You do that with honky tonks, you know, you work the room a little bit. Here's one of my favorites. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we can find us a brand new recipe? I got a hot rod boat and a $2 bill. I know a spot right over the hill. They're so pop and dancing free. If you wanna have fun, come along with me. Hey, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Oh, listen, it's a great band. About saving all your time for me. No more looking, I know I've been cooking. How's about keeping steady company? I'm gonna throw my date book over the fence. Buy me one for 5 or 10 cents. I'll keep it till it's covered with age, 'cause I'm writing your name down on every page. Hey, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up with me?
When it's over, not feeling any pain at closing time, but tonight your memory found me much too sober. I couldn't drink enough to get you on my mind. Tonight the bottle let me down, and let your memory come around. The one true friend I thought I found. Tonight the bottle let me down. Had me a bottle that I could turn to, and lately I've been turning every day, but the wine don't take effect, Lord, in the way it used to. Now I'm hurting in an old familiar way. Bottle let me down, and let your memory hang around. The one true friend I thought I'd found. Tonight the bottle let me down.
let me down.
That's a little ridiculous. I gotta add something else here. When you're talking about, Ray was talking about getting in with a pickup band to do a show, and how bad that was, and then you got these guys, and you were talking about Jack Green. We backed up Jack Green, me and my band, in Green Bay, Wisconsin one time. Had to have been the worst band to back up Jack Green ever. It was. We felt so bad that we wanted to do so good, but we just didn't. And he was so gracious, though. And I thought, man, he really should pull out a gun and shoot us all. But he didn't. He thanked us with a handshake and probably shook his head on the way out, maybe. But he was so great. What a great. Thank you, guys. Dale,
I want to ask you one thing real quick, because he's on so many of our shows and our audience loves him so much. Gene Watson, you're Dale Watson, no relation, I gather.
I tell people we are, but no, I love him, but no, I wish. I sure love his voice.
Yeah, we all do. Figured I'd ask that before the fans started writing, wanting to know.
Well, I told Bill earlier that I started. I guess I started playing at 14 doing the honky tonks. I was a designated driver before I knew what designated driver was, for all my friends. But I would always buy Country Song Roundup to learn the words, and the only other reason was because he had a Q&A in the front of that was so informative, so much fun. That's how I found out so much about country music and the singers and the writers. That's how I found out that Eddie had wrote "Thank God for Kids," and anyway. You're such a part of my life, every one of y'all. Thank y'all. Honored to
I
be
think
here.
a lot of us learned a lot of songs out of Country Song Roundup magazine, those of us that are old enough to remember. Dale Watson, thank you for a great job, buddy. Good to have you here for the first time. Eddie Raven, there's a honky tonk or two in Louisiana, too, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, we have, when I was first asked about this, ours are a little different than what most people, Louisiana's different in a lot of ways, and I come from South Louisiana, which is the Cajun part, and my mother was French, and so I grew up doing Jolie Blonde and a lot of the Cajun stuff, and my dad was a guitar player and from South Georgia, so I grew up listening to a lot of the old black blues players, and there was a guy named Blind Boy Fuller that he used to talk about and play, and so it was a little different for us. Now, when in the early days, when I first started hanging out, when my dad would take me with him some of the places, it was a little different. It was mostly blues oriented. All the clubs were that what they'd call that Circle Six Louisiana stuff was like Freddie Fender was doing, with the triplets. And as I got older, and I got into the bands. I got into a band called the Swing Kings and the Boogie Kings, and I was the youngest guy in the bunch. And I was around guys like John Smith, who went on to be saxophone player for Boz Scaggs and Toto, and Jerry LaCroix, who went on to be lead singer for Rare Earth. And I got involved in the studio, but the honky tonks, they were pretty much blues oriented. And you'd have an occasional country type song back then, but my dad was the guy that always told me, my last conversation with my dad was about Merle Haggard. And he said, son, you got to cut all that crap you've been doing and you need to get into Nashville, do songs like Haggard. And he'd call me from a bar room, and he said, listen to this, and he played Swinging Doors. And I said, well, yeah, and I knew all that stuff, and I'd done it, but I was making a lot of money doing the other stuff, and that's the only people that wanted me. And so, and I talked to Haggard about it one time, when I first met Merle, I was in Houston. I was going to Gillies, and he had just left there. And when we met at the hotel in the morning, we all had breakfast, and they were leaving, we were just coming in. And I went and introduced myself, and I said, Merle, my last conversation with my dad was about you. And I said, he told me that I needed to do what you do. And Merle, he smokes those cigarettes backwards. He did. Your dad had good taste.
You're going to do a Fats Domino song with your own twist to it.
The reason I want to do this song, this is what we grew up around listening to, but my hero coming up was a guy named Bobby Charles, Robert Charles Guidry. He lived down the road from me, and he took a liking and interest in me, and the first song I ever recorded that made it was a hit for me down there was a song he wrote called Your Picture. And got to know him, and later on, I'd written a song called Big Boys Cry, and he recorded it. It became a huge record down home, and a couple years ago, Elvis Costello recorded it. And, but Bobby Charles wrote See You Later, Alligator, Walking to New Orleans. I don't know why I love you, but I do. I'm just a jealous kind. Could not read or write music, could not play an instrument. And he had an arm that was so funny, and a great guy. And I loved him to death, and probably the reason I'm halfway what I am today is because I looked at Bobby Charles and I realized that if Bobby could do it, I sure as hell could, you know? And he told me about Big Boys, about walking to New Orleans. He said Bobby would gamble and lose money, make a lot of money and lose money. And he called Fats, and Fats would send him money to come up and bring the song, go down to New Orleans. And he said he called Fats one day, and Fats said, no, I ain't sending you no money. He said, well, how am I gonna get some songs to you? He said, walk. So he walked to New Orleans and wrote the song on the way, and that's what Bobby told me.
Wow, that's a great story.
And it worked, I guess. All right, guys, see if I can remember all the words to this. I haven't done it in 30 years since yesterday. This time I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm gonna need 2 pair of shoes when I get through walking these blues. When I get back to New Orleans, got my suitcase in my hand. Ain't that a shame? I'm leaving here today. Yes, I'm going back home to stay. I'm walking to New Orleans. You know you used to be my honey, till you spent all my money. Ain't no need for you to cry. Wanna see you by and by. So I'm walking to New Orleans. Got no time for talking. Got to keep walking. New Orleans is my home. That's the reason why I'm gone. So I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans. Thank you very much, guys.
Eddie Raven. What a thrill it always is when this man comes by to join us on Country's Family Reunion, and he's been in a few honky tonks and a few other places in his time, and I'm gonna pick his brain about it. The great Roy Clark.
Thank you, Bill. Bless your hearts. Thank you. You're very kind. You know, we've been getting together like this for several years now, but it wasn't until this evening that I felt like I really had something to offer. Some of the great singers and artists here in the room this evening, I was always treated very nice, but I knew I didn't have the credentials to stand up next to some of you folks. You were always very nice. But when it came up that we were going to talk about honky tonks, that's when I said, back up. Because I was there. I started working in honky tonks when I was 16 years old in Washington, D.C. I worked with when I was 16 years old, and I had to go get a permit, you know, from the folks who watch kids. I had to leave the stage when I did whatever. And then when the band started back up, then I went back and sang again. But I thought I was educated until I got on the road. It seems like we're honoring Texas this evening. We've already discussed about the chicken wire. At the Schrader Hall in Victoria, Texas, is where I saw my first. And I said the same thing. What's all the, didn't they have any material to replace that wall? What's all the chicken wire? Then I found out. And then we went to West Texas. And some of my most beloved experiences happened in that strip of nightclubs and honky tonks. And the first night we showed up, I was with Wanda Jackson fronting her band, and we got to the club we were going to play, and we went around to the back and started taking the instruments and amplifiers in. And there was a large gentleman that came out, about 6'5" and 300 pounds. He said, "Let me help." He was the manager and the bouncer. And he started helping us stuff around. He said, now when the fight starts, he said, y'all stand up on the stage and don't try to. I said, wait a minute. You mean if a fight starts? He said, when the fight starts. Well, this guy was a professional. He was playing fiddle, and when the fight started, he just dropped his fiddle and his bow, and both of them was on like a screen from a screen door, that spring. He just dropped the fiddle and the bow. It went up and wasn't hurt. Just standing.
You had it all planned out. Huh?
I'll tell you. But it was a great thing for me that I got educated overnight. But it's an honor to be here. I wished we had more time. Was it Junior that you mentioned that the after-hours clubs?
Oh, man.
Oh, you just made time until it was time to go to the after-hours clubs.
Yeah.
They moved them every night. They were illegal, but I wasn't leading anyway. I was just hanging with the rest, and that's what I pleaded in court. Now, I apologize for my throat, but if it wasn't the throat, there'd be something else. But I am honored this evening. Bless your hearts, and let's do it again. I'm drifting into deep water. I'm starting to care for you. You're getting me in deep water. Be careful what you do. You want a romance, but I'm seeking love. I know I'll regret it when it ends. I'm winding up in deep water. Why can't we just be friends? It's restless in this deep water. I'm lost between right and wrong. My love is deep as deep water. Your love won't last as long. Where will it lead me, and where will it end? I can't help but wish I only knew. I'm Bless your hearts. Thank you.
The great Roy Clark.
Thank you. Well, thank you, my friend.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You know you're among friends and people
Lord, don't I?
that love you. Yeah, you want to have a seat? I want to talk to you just a minute.
Oh, okay.
I want you to tell me something, because we started out earlier today. I was talking, and I said I'd come back to it, about a place in Kansas City. All the honky tonks ain't in Texas or Louisiana, because there was a place in Kansas City that you performed at, and I did, and Jim Ed, and I know George IV, and Jan Howard, and those of us that have been around a while. Tell me what you remember about Charlie Genova's Chestnut Inn.
That was the beginning of my career. I met Charlie Genova through Wanda Jackson, who I was the leader in her band, and we went to Kansas City, and Jim Halsey, my manager, went across the river to Kansas, and Hap Peoples had a tour going through. And Jim Halsey said, "Why don't you put this kid on, and he can add to your show?" Hap said, "We have enough." So he talked him into it. After I got on stage and they accepted me real good, that he added me to the show, $50 a day, and give me not car fare. He let me ride in a car. Well, it's been a while. And I was talking to some of the guys that we stayed at the Hill Hotel. They let me run the elevator up and down. And we got in trouble over that, but that's another story.
Well, tell me about the Chestnut Inn, because that's what you were doing in Kansas City to start with. Now, that wasn't in the best part of town.
You're reading my mind. It was not. In fact, you could go a step further. It was not desirable, but it was funny that it was a name that folks would come out. Whoever was there, they'd come out and fill the hall. And it's a wonder that we made it through. One night in particular, when Farron Young was on the show, he started picking out folks in the audience that had on dark clothes, overcoats, and never took their hat off. And Farron started talking about, "It looks like the mob from Chicago." Charlie Genova came out of his office and says, "Shh." I'd already picked it up, but Farron kept going.
The great Roy Clark.
Bless your heart. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You want to come back over, and I'll take that from you. All right, buddy. Thank you. Tell you what, I don't know if anybody's ever had the task or unenviable position. Nobody follows Roy Clark on the stage. They've never been able to.
You're very nice.
Hey, Bill, and you know what? You've done pretty good since Charlie Genova's. And you know, think about the millions of people that you entertained.
Yeah.
And you brought country music to households that had never seen it before and became fans.
You're very kind. Thank you.
You hop around them honky tonks in Texas like nobody else. I bet you've got a million stories.
I was just listening to John sing that waltz, and it reminded me one night, we were out in a little place called Monahan's, and I think Hank was playing fiddle with me at the time. It was an old VFW hall, and there was no bandstand. You just stood in the corner of the room and you sung, and they came up eyeball to eyeball and requested songs. And a lot of those old boys were all oil field workers, and all they came in there for was to drink and fight. So when they requested a song, you usually had to do it. So one night we were playing, and this old boy walked up to me eyeball to eyeball, and he said, "Sing the Tennessee Waltz." I said, "I was waltzing with my darling to the Tennessee Waltz." I sung it all the way through. We went on ahead another 15 or 20 minutes, and came up to me again. He said, "Sing the Bandera Waltz." I said, I was waltzing with my darling to the Bandera waltz. A little bit later, he walked up and said, sing the blue skirt waltz. I was waltzing with my old blue skirt waltz. And at the end of the night, we were all sacking our instruments up, and he was standing right at the edge of where we had our instruments, and I heard him over talking to this other guy, and he said, you see that son of a bitch over there? He said, you can't stump him on a waltz. He
That's a great story, man. Oh, that's beautiful.
I see my guitar sitting up there. I guess I better get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your cue.
You know, Bill, I was raised up in South Texas, and Darrell played quite a bit around there, and I got to know him real well. But boy, the people love him out there. And before I got a record, I used to go out to his shows and sit there and look at him. You know, he probably thought, who is this guy? But I always loved Darrell, and he's one of the best singers I know.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. This is a little tune I wrote a long time ago when I was working with the great Ray Price. And we were in a little town out in West Texas called Sweetwater. You know where that's at, don't you? But anyway, we had an early show, and Ray said, boys, we're going to stay in a motel tonight. And we just couldn't believe it. Buddy Emmons, myself, and a few of us. We said, well, hey, we'll just go pick a little bit, you know. I don't think we even cracked the sheets on them beds that night. We took a couple old yellers and got our instruments out, and we went in a motel. And Buddy said, you know, it'd be a lot better if we had a case of beer. And I said, yeah, let's get a cab driver. And we got this cab driver, and he said, boys, I hate to tell you this, but Sweetwater's dry. So the only thing we could do is just kind of sit there and look at one another, and it inspired this little song idea that I wrote. And they're still playing this thing. Dallas Wayne plays it every once in a while on Sirius XM. It's a little swing tune called It's the Water. It goes like this. They brew some mighty sweet water down in Sweetwater, Texas, and the sounds of the jukebox blows my mind. Well, I seem to lose myself down in Sweetwater, Texas, in a honky tonk with a woman on my mind. It's the water. It's the water. Yeah. It's the water 'cause it says so on the can. It's the water. It's the water. Well, it's the water that's made me a honky tonk man. Texas, and happened to look up and read the sign. Well, it's cool inside and music sweet in Sweetwater, Texas, and you'll always find a girl that'll blow your mind. It's the water. It's the water, yeah. It's the water 'cause it says so on the can. It's the water. It's the water. Well, it's the water that's made me a honky tonk man. Well, it's the water that's made me a honky tonk man. Yeah, happy. Thank you all very much.
Darrell McCall. McCall.
Appreciate you, Bill.
You can't fool that old boy with a waltz.
You couldn't fool him.
Daryle Singletary grew up down in South Georgia. Now, what kind of honky tonks were down there?
There was one place in Albany, Georgia, and I only went in it one time. Was to enter a talent show. Yeah, that's all I needed, and I was hooked. But I grew up singing in church, in strict Southern Baptist, and going to a honky tonk, which fortunately my folks have changed their opinion just a little bit. But it wasn't, what the honky tonks that I grew up around was just like the Webster Dictionary described them. They were pretty rough, and I didn't need to be in there, Mom and Daddy think. So I got to go in there one time, though.
They got a vintage Victrola in 1951, full of my favorite records that I grew up on. They got old Hank and Lefty and there's B-24. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. I'm gonna spend the night like every night before. Playing E.T., I'm gonna play him some more. I gotta have a shot of them old troubadours. Yeah, set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. All my neon neighbors, they like what I play, 'cause they've heard it every night since you walked away. Every day they replace that old B-24, 'cause every night I run a needle through walking the floor. Every night I run a needle through walking the floor. I'm gonna spend the night like every night before. Playing E.T., I'm gonna play him some more. I gotta have a shot of them old troubadours. Yeah, set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. I said, set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor.
Daryle Singletary.